Let's talk about the future of censorship coming out of Silicon Valley. How do you see that?
So I think the Republicans are doing quite a good job in Congress. Kevin McCarthy and Jim Comer with their, and Jim Jordan, of course, with their committees investigating all the censorship that took place over the past half decade. I think there's going to be a rollback. I think we sort of reached peak censorship under Trump. I think it'll be a while before we get back there again. At the same time, we're not going to go back to the pre-2016 era where people really did have a level playing field, and a small-time blogger could outcompete the New York Times. I think that simply won't happen because the systems to elevate establishment media sources in search results and on social networks are just so firmly in place now, except perhaps on Twitter because of Elon Musk taking over. We might see some changes there, but Twitter is not the most influential social network by a long shot. That's still Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Those are all still more powerful platforms, and they're controlled by people who are not rolling back censorship nearly as fast as Twitter is. I do think we will see that government pressure to censor to some extent going away because there's now all this scrutiny from Congress. But there's still a lot of pro-censorship opinion in Silicon Valley itself. So I think all those systems that are designed to elevate the establishment media over their competitors are going to remain in place for the most part.
I'm surprised that Facebook is one of the top 5 biggest companies in the country, and that Facebook, as you said, is so influential. I just see them declining. But is that my perception? Maybe you can give us some perspective of how big and powerful Facebook is. And do you see them being able to maneuver and change enough to not be taken off the top?
Well, Facebook is interesting because something happened they didn't quite expect, which is that all their market tends to be considerably older than their competitors. Over 40s, over 50s, even. They just use for family photos, to catch up with old friends and family, to reconnect with old friends and family. So that kind of puts them in a difficult position because eventually that means they'll be eclipsed by the platforms catered to a younger audience, like TikTok, although they also own Instagram, which has a younger demographic. And I think that's a big explanation for their continued power. But the fact that they attract an older audience also makes them probably the most influential platform with regards to news and politics, because those older demographics tend to vote more. And that's why you see often way more media pressure on Facebook to censor information than you see on platforms like Twitter, because they know Facebook actually has the power to tip elections.
So final word, you still see Silicon Valley being incredibly powerful and influential in the future, although it may look different than now. Will it be worse or do you think better from our worldview?
Difficult to say at the moment, but there's going to be a lot of it's going to come down to who controls AI. And the problem with AI is that you need extremely expensive supercomputers to power any consumer-focused AI product, which gives a massive advantage to big companies like Microsoft because they could pour hundreds of millions of dollars into it. So the big companies are going to dominate for a while longer. The question is, how biased are they going to make those AIs that power their products?
Do you trust Microsoft more than the other tech companies?
Oh, not at all. They could be worse than the other tech companies. They fund. They were in bed with NewsGuard, which is one of these organizations that we cover a lot of Breitbart news that blacklists news organizations that they disagree with.
Hey, thanks for watching that clip from our special Big Tech Revolution. We talk about the rise and potential fall of big tech and how big tech started and where they are now, where they're going, and all that good stuff. And you can watch that on the First TV app, available in the App Store. Also, our podcast, Politics by Faith, because all this big tech and transhumanism and computer chips in your brain kind of stuff, it's anxiety creating, no question. What's next with that? How do we work with that? How do we raise our kids in this new big tech world where everything is different? That's the kind of things we talk about in our podcast, Politics by Faith, where we take a thing that causes anxiety that's in the news, and then we give some historical perspective and biblical piece to help that anxiety go away, because I don't want to be living with anxiety. I want to be able to sleep at night, and I want to wake up refreshed, clear-eyed, ready to take on the day with wisdom and clear thinking. So that's the purpose of our podcast, and you can listen to that anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's called Politics by